joins us now. Brian Cashman. Welcome, Cash. How are you?
I'm doing all right, Mike. How you doing?
All righty. First, happy Thanksgiving. All right. Your thoughts on yesterday? I heard your remarks from your conference call, but your thoughts on making the first trade of the hot stove season?
Well, I mean, obviously trying to address areas of need, or we're in a window of near-term effort with trying to win a championship, and obviously Seattle's regrouping and playing the long game now, and so we're in a position to match up, where we'll hopefully get 2 good, healthy, productive years of Paxton at the very least, and in exchange for a number of control years, 6 years of Swanson and Sheffield and Dom Williams, and obviously dreaming on their ceilings. So we messed up well, and I thought it was something we were going to have to do, and hopefully it benefits both parties.
You made it clear that this was an objective and a kind of a priority. What did you like so much about Paxton?
Obviously left-handed.
Yep.
For the New York Yankees. That speaks to itself. But
agreed.
Obviously, big arm. One of the better available starters, I think, in the marketplace. Clearly, we believe and hope that he's trending in the right direction. The 200 strikeouts certainly stand out last year, so I feel we feel over the last 3 years, he's starting to figure it out and put it together and build upon some things, and knowing how to go about his business, both in between starts and obviously on game day. And clearly, when he has the ball on the mound, every 5th day, he's pretty competitive and has had a lot of success. So hopefully that'll translate right here into the Bronx as well. We'll see.
Do you like the idea that the innings, with the gradual climb the last couple of years through the innings, like from where he is to where he went to 160 this year, from 120 to whatever it was, 15 to 32 or to 160, it was like a climb each year?
Yeah, he had 31 starts if you include his minor leagues in 2016. So he had, but on the major league side, he had 20 of those starts in 2016, 11 in the minor leagues, and so yeah, he built up major leagues from 121 innings to 136 to 160, and obviously his success continued to rise as well with that. So it feels like he's progressing, learning about how to go about being, a competitive major leaguer, and he's had his nicks and bumps along the way, but nothing. But as we did our deep dive, nothing that would scare us off. But also not to diminish that either. Obviously he's had issues, but when he's had them, he's had to take a timeout, and then he recovers from them, and so it doesn't appear to be anything shoulder or elbow related that at least would be a predictable outcome. So the risk factor on him is the same typically as any pitcher. But hopefully, over time he's learned his craft and he's continued to have some takeaways of what's going to keep him on the mound and successful. And so, hopefully he can carry that into the Bronx and follow it up with 2 really good years as he approaches free agency. You and I both know this place isn't for everybody. We learn that all the time. We know it all the time. And it doesn't mean that it's not a knock. It just isn't. Makeup come into this with him or not really? I mean, we did as much as we could. There's a lot of former Yankees playing on that team, and we certainly had our personnel reach out to anybody and everybody that has either played alongside them or coached with them, and to do as much deep dive as we could about the person, and ultimately it comes back to the word competitor, good teammate, gets along great in the clubhouse, works his tail off, all those things that came back. That was unanimous, consistently coming back from every outlet we'd have every string we were able to pull on. And so, as you would expect, as our fans would want, we're pulling on every string we possibly can. It doesn't guarantee that it'll play the same way here, but you have to go through those motions nonetheless.
All right, where does that leave you right now with your starting pitching? How do you feel?
I mean, better than I did the day before.
Are you still looking for one more guy?
Absolutely. Obviously, once we had CC in the fold, we felt we had to at least get 2 more guys back into this as imports, and so obviously now Paxton's one of those, and we'll continue our focus on the rotation and whether it's a free agent.
Would that be Hap plus, or is that Hap would fill that, or would that be Hap plus?
Well, it's going to be somebody. I mean, no, it was going to be 2 past CC, so now Paxton's one of those 2.
Okay, so now that one more. Okay.
I mean, I'm not opposed to to doing anything and everything else, but for the most part, I think just sensible. We're going to plug and play with one more and see where that takes us. But yeah, it took a month to get something to line up here with Seattle, so I don't know how much longer it's going to take between the free agents or trades and stuff like that. But we're going to stay engaged, and there's a number of different players available on the board, but we're in a better place, I think, today for the trade we just made yesterday. And, we'll continue to evaluate and hopefully pull something down. If I could wave the magic wand, I'd do it yesterday, but it just doesn't work that way.
How about the shortstop situation?
Yeah, it's still something we're kicking around. Obviously, it's not a deep position in terms of availability. There are some that are defensive first available players in the marketplace, especially in free agency. There's an abundance of players that you can acquire via trade or free agency on the market for second base, which would mean swinging Gleyber Torres over.
Are you okay with that? I mean, is that something you're not against, or are you against it?
I'm not against it.
Okay.
I mean, it's his natural position. It's just we're still in the evaluation mode of cost of acquisition. How does it look like when the dust settles?
Would he prefer to play short?
I would say yes. I mean, it's his natural position. I've not asked him that question.
Okay, I just wondered.
But I got to believe that something that he's done his entire life, and you could even see. I think second base is still a developing skill for him.
Yep.
Where shortstop, it just comes. Obviously you see bigger range and the bigger plays there at short, because I just think it's something that he's used to. Where second base, I think he's not a finished product there, and so there's the argument to just leave him at second to finish him off, versus playing him over at short for 3 months and then moving him back to second and then having him continue that journey. So we're wrestling with weighing that versus what's available and ultimately what's going to globally impact us the best in terms of weighing the cost. If we could waver the wand and do whatever we wanted, what's the best thing to do? And so we haven't determined that yet, and we're still in the information gathering mode about costs associated with acquisition, whether it's free agent or trade still.
If you moved him to short, is there a chance when Didi came back he wouldn't play short and you would move Didi to a different position? Is that possible?
I would hope not, because Didi's pretty spectacular.
But what if he was even better?
I don't see that happening.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
No, I'll be honest.
I mean, Didi's really good. I agree.
Yeah,
he's really good.
Yeah, like somehow Didi would have to have declined from from surgery and stuff, which I guess it's always possible.
Right.
But in terms of who's a better shortstop and who would project moving forward, it's still Didi.
Didi's a terrific shortstop. I agree.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the kid is at short. I haven't seen him enough to know, but he might be. I don't know if he's probably considered to be a pretty decent shortstop, right?
He's good. His range, I guess, is not. He doesn't have the best range, but he's got great instincts. So I think I think as we move forward, his best position is second base, or third, just because that the position there short with the range factor, I think, is certainly something that would be in your best interest. Defensive profile with massive range is the best defender.
Gotcha.
And although you can make that up with great hands and great instincts, which Torres has all those, but I don't think he has that range factor that some of the other good ones for that position do, and that's why I think he plays better eventually over at second base.
And there's obviously short term though. There's a lot of options at second base. Clearly, a lot more than there is at short.
There is a lot of trade options. There's a lot of free agent options. So. But again, our main focus currently is the pitching side of this thing. We're not putting anything on the back burner, but obviously that's going to be the most impactful thing for us. And I think there's less abilities to import some of those than it is on the infield side. So that's why we're laser focused still on the pitching, well ahead of everything else, I think.
How about the relief part of this? How do you feel about your bullpen right now, as far as what you know you have coming back and your options with the other guys?
I feel like we need to address things still. I mean, obviously, right now, dust settles. We have Chapman and Betances and Green and Holder, and then if Canely can resuscitate, and obviously Sessa, he'll be out of options, and Tarpley and Cole and those guys. But at the end of the day, I'd like to figure out a way to either bring back what we lost to free agency, whether it was Britton or Robertson or both, or somehow replace them via free agency, as well as, you could always do that in the trade factor too. So definitely need to tend the garden in the bullpen, as well as finish off that rotation, and then hope, knock on wood, it stays healthy, even though that stuff doesn't ever occur. So.
Well, we know that. I mean, but you got to have enough because they're always going to have injuries, which last year showed you. We're talking with Brian Cashman. How about first base? You said yesterday not a priority. Where do you sit right now with your first base situation?
It's Voigt's to lose, Bird to take. Not a priority in the fact that I got. Because of what Voigt did and honored, the projections that we did have on him in the minor leagues, that he showed that he could carry that type of weight in the big league level. It's not going to be a priority. It doesn't mean that we won't be open-minded to ideas that come our way, but because we have some heavy lifting in other categories, I think it's more of a back burner and feel good that we have controllable, cost-effective people there that, and in Voigt's case, really produced at the high level when it counted the most. And so we'll see where that might take us. No guarantees, but yeah, my focus currently is on the other areas that we talked about.
You and the people you employ get paid to make a decision on whether that was a one-year wonder or that's what we're going to see from Voigt. Where do you come down on that?
Right now, we'll play on that. There's more gas in that tank, and again, but while doing that, be open-minded if things develop over time that make more sense or is more of a safer play. But if we don't necessarily have an abundance of dollars to be throwing around, so I need to allocate the money for the more obvious needs, and then see when the dust settles how much is left and if it's worth deploying in another arena. But again, we were pretty impressed with what Luke Voigt did, and we can't deny that Bird still has a ceiling, despite obviously the frustrations that he and we and as well as our fan base has experienced, because the injuries have denied his ability to be the player he's capable of being. So, but it doesn't mean that he still doesn't possess those abilities. It's just time will tell whether he'll ever be what he had a chance to being. So we'll see.
Baseball's a funny game, and we're talking with Brian Cashman, how a guy like Voigt can have the impact he had on the Yankees, and a guy like Pierce had the impact he had on the Red Sox. You never know where it's coming from.
No, that is correct. So we'll see what happens, but hopefully, I had some good advice that ran us into Voigt, and again, I've got a lot of good quality people surrounding me, giving me advice all the time. So hopefully, we can run into some more good opportunities that present themselves this winter that can impact us in a really positive way, like Voigt did this past season.
Two screaming questions. Number one, is it more likely the last starter comes from a trade or a free agent, or is it 50-50?
It's tough to say still. I think, we are engaged with teams still on trade discussions and clearly engaged with the free agent market. So we're in a better position because we've gotten one of the two starters now in the fold with Paxton, but so I think it gives us a little bit of the ability to be more patient or disciplined in our next chess move, but at the same time, I need to impact this club in a real positive way, and I think we all would like to put our heads on a pillow as we go into spring training, feeling like the winter effort was a strong one. It won't guarantee anything, because how long a 6-month season is, and performing here in the Bronx, the American League East, and obviously staying healthy. All those things are difficult in the pitching world, but at the end of it all, I definitely and we definitely want to impact it for our fan base. There's some opportunities here that I don't think we can miss. So hopefully we'll be able to get something done here sooner than later, and that we'll be proud of, and at least can dream big on. So we'll see.
And also, there's a couple of high-ticket items out there that we all know about, and you are the Yankees. Everyone wants you to come kick the tires. What's the chances?
We kick the tires and everything. I mean, I think we've been a lot more disciplined over the course of the last number of years
than
our history has been. So we're connected constantly, but I think that we're constantly.
Does that mean you're out of that game or not out of that game?
I don't think we're ever out of the game. We imported a big contract last year via trade. That's no different than a free agent signing, so to speak, with that kind of money commitment. So I think that's a demonstration of that we are, big game, hunters and can play on big stuff no matter what. But I'd like to think that we're very disciplined in the process and careful, and as we should be. And hopefully, again, I think the process has served us well here. Hopefully that'll lead us into a good decision-making mode as we are forced to make some tough calls, whatever they're going to be as we move forward. So I think there's still a lot more information to be gathered, both on financial expectations as well as, makeup assessments and fits here for our club and in our universe. And I think that work is, on the bigger ticket items, is still yet to be had, but obviously, 'tis the season to do it.
Machado's not in Didi's class as a shortstop. Not a lot of guys are. But do you think he's a workable shortstop, or you don't look at him as a shortstop long term?
He played shortstop in the World Series for the National League champion Dodgers. So, obviously he's good enough to assist getting a team to a World Series contending situation. So I can't say he can't play it. Obviously his best position is third, but he obviously finished the full year in his free agent walk year as a shortstop. So. Would Harper be a guy that is first base something that is a serious consideration in anything with him? Do you look at him as an outfield prospect or as a guy who also could play first base? I know he's athletic and I know he's capable, I'm sure, of doing a lot of different things, but it's hard to, from my perspective, I think, to place financial bets to that category on a change of position.
Makes sense. I agree with that. That's a good point. Very good point. I
can't deny that, he's a very gifted and talented individual, but, I don't see in reality that, that would be a safe bet. But I wouldn't rule anything out with anything, because that's our job. Our job is to evaluate all options and see how they fit in our universe. And we have, listen, I've been around a long time. You've been covering us for a long time. Our fans have been watching us for a long time. So what may or may not fit today doesn't mean it won't fit tomorrow. So the universe is constantly changing, and it's just up to us to be capable of pivoting, adjusting, and open-minded to different options at a moment's notice. So as we continue to walk this path, we're going to stay engaged with all players in the marketplace and continue to evaluate it, and then ownership eventually dictate the final call.
And there's some interesting starting pitches that could be on either list. How many guys would you say in the round number that you'd be interested in? Is it a wide number, or is it more of a more economical number?
Well, I guess it depends on the definition of wide, but I'd say there's probably, if I had to guess, just not guess, but
right.
There's probably, between the trade and free agents, there's 10 or 11 guys.
Yeah, I would think so. That's a fair number, yeah, which is a lot.
Right
That's
in.
a pretty wide number to me to have that many. There's some good names out there.
Yeah, no, there are. There's some teams that are open to listening on trades, whether, they're not going to trade all of them, but they're certainly listening on some of them, and some teams have a specific, player they're open to trading, and then clearly the free agents are the free agents. So you mix them all together and try to assess, acquisition costs, whether it's prospect capital with importing the salaries that they possess or will possess through arbitration, or, throwing a boatload of cash on a shorter or long-term deal, depending on who the free agent is. And in some cases, there's a attachment to a qualifying offer on the free agent side, but not with all of them. And so you have to factor all those pressure points in there. And then again, free agents, they determine, where they would prefer to play with the landscape that they're negotiating with. And so, that's what we're still trying to determine, what's more realistic than others. And at some point we gotta as I use that term, land the plane. And so yesterday was a good start. Took a while, but we got some time left in the winter here, and so we got more work to be finishing off at some point.
We know when we talked to you, had just finished your season. You've now had another month to examine your team. What did you learn about your team in your examination in the last month that maybe was a little different than what you thought right after the season ended? And any change in your opinion on your team or your season?
No, I mean disappointing that that we didn't finish off.
I mean, you won 100 games, which is a nice year, that's for sure.
But
yes.
On the positive side, we have a great team, and on the negative side, it wasn't great enough, and we'll continue trying to.
Did anything surprise you or displease you about surprise you on the downside? Like maybe you expected something that didn't happen for your team in the postseason? Was there anything that you thought,
we didn't beat Boston.
Well,
I thought we were capable.
Yeah, you are capable, but they outpitched you.
Yeah, so they did a lot of things that in that series that allowed them to get past us, and they did it to everybody. So
they got a lot of timely hits, which is what it comes down to a lot of times. That timely hits.
Yeah.
You got to pitch it, catch it, and then get a couple of timely hits. That's how you win.
Yeah. So all all I can do is continue to add to what we have, hopefully in a positive way, and that's our laser focus, which is continuing to, hey, if we feel like this is going to make us better, we're all in on trying to do it, and just compare it to what the other alternatives are, and all I really care about when the dust settles is our fans feel good about it, and then whether it's CC, who's entering his last season of the year, or Aaron Judge, or Sevi, or Tanaka, who's over in Japan right now, all these guys are like, wow, I'm excited by what they've added to the current group we've got. That'll get me my juice flowing too, because those guys obviously are important to us, and I'm not naming all the guys, but that also makes me feel better when a Hicks or a Dylan Betanzas or all these guys are out there going, they're starting to salivate if we start adding, some quality people and talent into this mix, because obviously we need it. Where we need to go, we need to add to it. So hopefully what we have will stay as good as they are, and we can import some people that can make us better.
You were right about Hicks. I never thought he'd be that good a hitter. Right? He's a good fielder. We know how athletic he is. He's been a much better hitter than I thought he would be, day in and day out. He really has. He's improved as a hitter. He really has. Yeah,
he's talented, and I love the way he goes about his business. And obviously, we have other decisions to make. Hicks and Dellin and Didi, obviously, they're all free agents at the end of the year,
yep.
And so obviously those are also part of discussion topics for another day, I guess, because, they're all very talented, valuable players
absolutely.
As we move forward, and free agency is looming, upon us after the 2019 season. So, the work never stops. You got to deal with all aspects of this stuff. It's not just trading and importing guys via free agency. You got to deal with the arbitration stuff and the pending free agent stuff as well. And so we'll see what happens.
And the other thing is that I really noticed last year, Cash, is that how much the team misjudged when he wasn't there. He's become that special a player. You can see that, and how different the team is when he's there. You can see the difference.
I mean, he was obviously having a follow-up. A lot of times people see the sophomore jinx or whatever, but that never happened here. He was an MVP category type performer, and then he went down. And certainly we missed him. And it was great to get him back, and then he impacted us in such a big way, even through the playoffs. So yeah, he's a big man that casts a very long shadow.
He does.
And so everybody feels his presence in a positive way for us when he's around, and we know what he can do with the baseball and impact it. So it's good to get him back, and hopefully we can avoid having guys pitch him up and in, and he can get out of the way a little bit easier next time around, so we don't lose him.
Yeah, that's for sure. He really made a difference, and he played well in the postseason. All right, thanks. Listen, we'll talk soon. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, Brian Cashman.